it's so clearly not a both sides situation. People are still trying to demonize the Palestinians in whatever way they can, particularly Hamas, to create this sort of equalization. Well,
I love how they just fucking say it, like, oh, you're dehumanizing Hamas. Like, fuck off, man. What the fuck? It's so... Do you see October 7th as Palestinians returning to their land or invading Israel? Brackets, they were returning to their land. If the Mizrahi population decided to invade Iraq, we would just say it's them returning to their land. Just send them into fucking Baghdad. You know, that's where they're from, ultimately. That's why there were a lot of Jews in Baghdad, actually. A lot of Iraqi Jews. You could get an entire fucking ground force there. That's not an invasion. Fuck off. What is this? Apparently there's new content from Ethan's little debate partner, the Cruel World Happy Mind person. I always get that name mixed up in my head before I say it. Cruel World Happy Mind. Cruel World Happy Mind. I feel like that name makes a lot more sense now that we know about the kind of things that make her happy. You've worked as an observer in those elections. That's interesting. That sounds like you'd have a big story. She talked to Chris Kunzler. Oh no. Is he going to set her straight about the Israel-Palestine conflict? And she's going to agree with everything he says, even though she was walking back everything she said about Ethan to his face. she's just going to go and nod along to the last person who fucking talks to her on a call. Oh no. She walked back the walk back. That's so unsurprising. Reddit post on my sub. I have a subreddit, you guys, just so you know. Get on it. Lonerbox is not prepared to review this caliber of nuanced, thoughtful, deeply informed commentary on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Chris Kunzler, feat Madison of CWHM. Oh. You wish you could join H3 for their reaction. Well, I was considering maybe seeing if they wanted to do more collabs. Who knows?
It's way worse than she's rich and has connects to the press. Trump illegally moved Giz to a cushy prison that isn't even open to PPA who did her severity of crime. And a prisoner who criticizes her was moved out illegally.
Hey, thanks for 1999. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's quite mental. Yeah, she's isn't that because she said or didn't say things that helped Trump as well? I didn't follow exactly what her deal was. You ready for irrelevant monologues by the Brit? Am I going to watch all of this or... Oh, God. Oh, no. This is a 5-minute clip. Let's just have a teaser, okay? We'll see how it goes. Oh, God.
Have an opportunity, with your past, Ethan as well, living in Israel, you have the education and experience of knowing what is being taught in Israel, what they're saying, what is done over there in ways that many Americans are not experiencing right now, which is very important knowledge, I think, for right now. And instead, you are silent and you do not speak out about that aspect. And I think that could be very important education.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this ultimately taps into the problem, which is if you actually look at what Hila specifically thinks about Palestine, it's not really very congruent. And I think that, also,
no,
I think appreciating the full significance of that statement is not even something I did when I previously talked about it, because you can see that actually pretty much everyone else there has a strong reaction to it. But that is the kind of rhetoric that leads to the killing of children in Gaza. That's not like some crazy thing. Like Israeli soldiers say, well, all Palestinians are terrorists. And there are, maybe even if every government official in Israel doesn't believe that, there are a considerable amount of them who do. There is Israel's finance minister.
Oh, he's even letting slip that not even everyone in the government believes that. Okay. That's not normally a position you'd hear someone like that admit to, but okay. Do you know who else says that? Unfortunately. And it is a problem. Of course it is, like Israeli right-wingers. Do you know who else says that? Hamas says that. Hamas will fucking scream from the fucking rooftops about how they believe that all the civilians are in on the fucking struggle, and they applaud the steadfastness of civilians who will stay behind and defend the cause, whatever the fuck. Like, I don't know, whatever. We have many martyrs to sacrifice, or whatever the fuck they talk about. Yeah.
Said of Palestinian children that he didn't want his wife to give birth next to Arabs because they were birthing the next generation of his enemies, their enemies. And this is how the kind of rhetoric that leads to the killing of children becomes prominent, becomes comes to fruition. How killing massive amounts of people is no longer just something that's unimaginable and makes most people balk and think, my God, how could you ever do that? Instead, all of a sudden, it is legitimate and it is justified because their children are taught to hate. And it is also the same logic which continually moves away from seeing Israel as the problem, which is ultimately the problem of kind of both of them, that they draw an equivalency between Palestinians and Israelis. Israel is the one that is a nuclear-armed superpower. Israel is the one who refuses to remove settlements from the West Bank that are illegal under international law. Israel are the colonizers who got 78% of their of Palestinians' historic homeland in the Oslo Accords in 1993, and that wasn't enough. They still had to continue expanding.
Israel is a superpower. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. He's just, some people will remember, there's nothing you can say about Israel that, even if it's accurate, there's nothing you can say about Israel that these fucking idiots will not exaggerate. So they can't just be a nuclear power. They have to be a nuclear superpower. Or when we're talking about like the fact that it justifies the killing of kids to mention that people in Hamas or in Gaza, or even to a degree like other like institutions in Palestine, will radicalize the youth. Okay, what if it's true? Are you just never allowed to say it because some people on the Israeli right might use it as a weapon? You would never like make a stance out of deploring truthful statements like this in any other fucking context. It is a fact that Hamas does this. It does not justify the killing of kids and making them into military targets when they're not armed or anything, or when they're not fucking militants. Like, you can't kill non-militants. You can't do it. But that does not make you a bigot or imply that you're justifying killing kids just because you acknowledge that that's what happens. It's like he's basically admitting that some truths are like, they're inconvenient to him, that some truths just like should not be spoken, and you're bad if you mention them, which is like, hey, fuck you. What?
Settlements, they didn't instantaneously take decisions that no further Israeli government could have ever reversed by just saying there will be no more settlements, because that's not what they wanted. Because that's not what it's about. They portray Palestinians as much of the problem. People whose hatred of Israel derive...
Yeah, unfortunately, Bob, you need two people to end the conflict. You need two leaders to end the conflict. That's why we still haven't had a resolution to the conflict. We've had Israeli leaders in the past who have said yes to partition resolutions, and the Palestinian side will say no, and very specifically, they will not specify what needs to change for them to say yes. That's been a problem since the fucking day one, unfortunately.
Not from some anti-Semitic backwardness, but much rather the fact that Palestinians lived in their homes and experienced dispossession, and thus their recent history has been an experience of dispossession, marginalisation that came at the hands of the British and the preferential treatment of the Zionist project, and then the Zionist project, and drawing an equivalency saying like, oh, you know, there's extremists on both sides and that's the problem, rather than saying, actually,
it's not even the equivalent. Because if I asked Ethan and Ela, or do you think Israel and Palestine are equal? Do you think they have like either equally just causes, or they experience equal suffering, or they are equally destructive, or they'd probably say no to all of the above. Like, of course, it's not equal. Of course, it's an unbalanced conflict in Israel's favor. Of course it is. I don't know who he's arguing with here. The problem is that with the extremists on the one side, the Palestinian side, is that you like them. You glaze the shit out of them. You do little fucking obituaries on Twitter, like mourning the loss of people like Anas al-Sharif, who were celebrating on October 7th with little fucking love hearts on his Telegram as he was watching fucking kibbutzim full of civilians getting attacked. Like, the guy who lied about his own people, he lied about anti-Hamas protesters and tried to act as if the anti-Hamas element of them just wasn't a big part of their protest, when it was literally the only thing they were chanting, like almost exclusively.
One group of people came here and stole the land from the people who lived there. It is crazy. And all
and
these
that's
months
why
into
I
it-
can And that's why I can fully understand the issue with saying conflict in my original video, because I could see how that sort of creates that sort of equalization when that's not the case at all. And that's the importance of saying a genocide is happening right now at this time in particular, when people are trying to, when it's so clearly not a both sides situation, people are still trying to demonize the Palestinians in whatever way they can, particularly Hamas, to create this sort of equalization. Well,
I
both
love how they just fucking say it, like, oh, you're dehumanizing Hamas. Like, fuck off, man. What the fuck? It's so, this is what I don't, it's what I really hate whenever you people get into this, because you start with, it's like this whole Motte and Bailey, it's like you start with your first foot in the door, which is that it's not a balanced conflict. And like, okay, that's very difficult for someone to disagree with. You can't really disagree, there's an unbalanced conflict. Next level, Israelis are the ones who came in and stole all the land and did all the aggression, and like it's all like it all starts with the entire buck like starts and ends with them. You can't even say anything bad that happens on the Palestinian side, on their leadership or in their militant groups or anything else, because that would lend credence to the idea that it's an equally balanced conflict. And therefore, you can't even go as far as dehumanizing Hamas. And now we're going to get upset that you're dehumanizing Hamas. By doing what? By calling them what they are. By repeating, most of what I say about Hamas is just what they say themselves about themselves. The people who dehumanize Hamas are these fucking glazing Orientalist fucking dipshits who basically just act as if Hamas doesn't exist. They talk about the entire conflict as if Hamas aren't even a relevant party in it. And when you do hear about what Hamas has to say, they lie about what Hamas has to say. They just put their own fucking whitewashed, tempered, Western-friendly words into Hamas's mouths and just fist it in there so they can basically just like keep the propaganda effort going on their behalf. So we hear about Hamas never accepting the concept of a two-state solution. Like they never want to make peace with Israel and live alongside a Jewish state. And they'll deny that because of the new charter. But then you can just go and read the new charter and say that, and it shows very clearly that they consider the two-state solution temporary. Like it's that they don't want to compromise on any inch of the land. And for some reason, like these are the guys who are against dehumanizing them. The ones who want to like change all of their words and behaviors for them.
sides are bad narrative, and so calling it a conflict can only lead to that, and so I can see that. I mean, that's what I forgot to say in the beginning. I was recommended to read this book and took notes of it, and I still have a lot of ways to go, and in terms of education and everything, but that's some of the notes, and
she's so humble,
which I told you personally. But one thing that I particularly wrote down that I thought was interesting is when speaking.
Yes, I think it is Pappé, yes.
Speaking on the two-state solution, language like a land for two people, the peace process, the Israel-Palestine conflict, the need to stop violence on both sides, the two-state solution allows politicians to remain ineffective out of either will or necessity. And so essentially, especially in the US, it feels like that sort of narrative of just...
Bro, I love how she just fucking stepped into this conflict, like dipped her toes into it about 5 minutes ago, and now she's just reading off a bunch of fucking... Is that your research notes? What the fuck did you just say?
Like a land...
Oh god, this lady is dumb as rocks. Oh my god.
Can see that. I mean, that's what...
At least people in... God, you know what? At least people in fucking little fucking guzzlers chat are aware of this, that she's not getting away with it. Where was this energy when you were on call? You backed down on everything like a coward, and now you're puffing out your chest when you're hiding away from them. Kind of comes off as fake, no spine.
I forgot to say in the beginning.
For example, do you see October 7th as Palestinians returning to their land or invading Israel? Brackets, they were returning to their land. Well, why the fuck did they run back into Gaza then, you fucking retard? Like, this is the kind of returning to their land. Are you fucking serious? Is that what it's really? If the Mizrahi population decided to invade Iraq, we would just say it's them returning to their land. Just send them into fucking Baghdad. Maybe send them in with the British and the Americans. Maybe they should have sent some fucking Mossad. They should have sent fucking Doron from Fauda Because they're all like the beachy group, aren't they? They're all like Mizrahi Jews because they speak Arabic and shit. Why don't, yeah, just send them all back to fucking Iraq, put them on a fucking plane, strap them to a bunch of American JDAMs, put them in fucking Baghdad, because, you know, that's where they're from, ultimately. That's why there were a lot of Jews in Baghdad, actually. A lot of Iraqi Jews. You could get an entire fucking ground force there. That's not an invasion. Fuck off.
I was recommended to read this book and took notes of it. And it's, I still have a lot of ways to go, and in terms of education and everything, but that's some of the notes, and which I told you personally. But one thing that I particularly wrote down that I thought was interesting is when speaking on the two-state solution, language like a land for two people, the peace process, the Israel-Palestine conflict, the need to stop violence on both sides, the two-state solution allows politicians to remain ineffective out of either will or necessity. And so essentially,
God, that's so fucking profound, isn't it? Yeah, just keep fucking fighting then. Just see how that goes. I don't know how much longer this singular approach to the Israel-Palestine conflict, like the rejection of two states, the rejection of accountability on both sides, the rejection of compromise, the rejection of any fucking practical solution ever, anywhere in this conflict, is all just thrown out the window. And that approach fails for 80 years, but let's just keep doing it. It's not like it's going to affect you, is it? It just gives you more to talk about.
Especially in the US, it feels like that sort of narrative of just, oh, both sides are bad, or let's create peace, and oh, the two-state solution has sort of created this idea of just kicking the ball down the line. Is that the saying?
Yeah. Kicking the can down.
She has no idea what she's talking about. How fucking retarded. What do you mean the two-state solution is kicking the can down? What does that even mean? Like,
kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, where it's sort of and just creating this sort of, oh, well, which is not the narrative at all, but it sort of it soothes the politicians who are continuing to sort of bolster up the evil that is happening, and having any sort of verbiage like conflict can also further that as well, and that's definitely something that I fully agree with. And what was I going to say on that?
Okay. I really don't think I want to watch this full conversation. Is that surprising to anyone here? That's just a bit much. That is just a bit much. Can you turn this segment into a video? Maybe. Why not? It's kind of short, kind of underwhelming. I don't know. How can you be so fucking fake? Because I've read that book that she's talking about. It's called On Palestine. It's Chomsky and Pappé. It's actually one of the first books that I read in the conflict. Obviously, it's freakishly one-sided. There's like some funny little concept there. It's either Chomsky or Pappé who's like, well, we need to sell the idea of how a one-state solution isn't compatible with Zionism because it would still be a homeland for the Jews. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, they would definitely, that would definitely be a chill fucking stable homeland for the Jews when they become a minority in the region, because that always happens in the Middle East. Like, it's just fucking. I mean, it's worth reading that side of things. It's just like coming in there and then just literally just a fucking random word generator of like white leftist free Palestine nonsense. Jesus. Do you think you could make her read Benny Morris? No, because she's obviously chosen her fucking side. Like, there's no fucking way. There is no way. She's just going to sit there with some bullet points, and it's like, the two-state solution, liberal complicity, the accountability on both sides is bad, the rewording, the understanding of the word violence in the wider context, and the return to the like, it's just, oh, you just put all those phrases together and you might get a coherent sentence that sounds like you have any fucking idea what you're talking about. This is the kind of motherfucker, by the way, who can probably still quite vividly remember the time when she was looking at a map and thought the fucking Gaza Strip was the West Bank because it's the one in the West, right? Like when he talks about how like, oh, the Zionists, they're the ones who came in and stole the land and took a bunch of it. Okay, well, what if I asked her? What if I asked this lady here why that actually happened? What if I asked Madison, that's her name, why that, like how that happened? What was the process? Then that's where you'll just start to probably imagine this fucking like Pocahontas cartoon of a bunch of Jews with fucking guns arriving with the British right beside them, completely fucking lockstep. Like, yep, this is our land, buddy. Go on, fire away. And she's not political, she's a drama YouTuber. Yeah, but she's obviously she's definitely paid attention to, like, I guess which direction she's being pulled in by the audience. And yeah, it's just that's just the case though. It's just the case that yeah, the people who the side that lost the actual war won the propaganda war. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. When you learn about it for the first time, it's actually insane how simple the issue is. Nice one. My issue is calling it conflict. Oh yeah, her first video calling it conflict. We can't call it a conflict anymore, can we? Damn. Even former US generals have called October 7th legitimate resistance action under international law. That's you fucking nutter, man. Yeah, that's because some US generals, believe it or not, are fucking idiots. Yeah, not every US general knows what the fuck they're talking about. Not least of all on issues outside of their own country. What the fuck, man? These comments. This is where you get though. You start with a simple claim. It's not a very balanced conflict. Israel's got a lot more power than Palestine does. All the way over to October 7th is legitimate resistance under international law. Okay. Was it a 4-star general? That sounds like a 3-star general at best. Okay. That's that general, if they did say that, they might not have, because these guys butcher quotes from people all the fucking time. That sounds like a few stars short of a 4-star bundle. Go right there. 4-star general. Give me a 4-star general. I need one now, actually. Shit. Do I want to watch this whole thing? Fuck. Please tell us about the CCP propaganda, Loner. What? Not worth it. Please don't. You guys are saying that like you think I've got better things to talk about, okay? I'm having a slow one today. Hit up H3 and watch it with them. Yeah, maybe. Kunzler goes in a few tirades. Yeah, he is a rambler. He's a soapboxer. I love it when this guy fights with Mediasan. It's so funny. It's over Syria, right? I have no problem with the US government hosting the Syrian president. I am for negotiations and against war. Greg, what's infuriating though is we're expected to believe that college students are Hamas and should be deported as NatSec threats while a former leader of AQ is totally fine and all is forgiven, and Fox and then does a softball interview with him, and Petraeus and Trump heap him with praise and totally downplay the past. All is forgiven. That's not cynical. That's not infuriating. You're in a bubble. If again, imagine talking about any Palestinian leader that's negotiating in this way. You would never do it. It's just such an obvious fucking party line fucking bullshit. Okay. This is just a nonsense response that he would not be applying to any of the conflicts in the world. Northern Ireland, Israel, Palestine, any of the, okay, he knows, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. It's too obvious. Too easy. Finish it so we can rewatch it for weeks to come. Shut up. Subscribe, you fucking assholes. I mean, sorry.